AI Realized, the podcast about everything that is new, now, and next for enterprise executives deploying AI. Hosted by myself, Christina Elwood, and my collaborator, David Yakobovich.
Our guests will share what's driving AI adoption, use cases, and business models for the data and AI economy.
Why the future is bright.
Welcome to AI Realized, the podcast for enterprise executives leading AI deployments. From tackling security, data, and operational challenges to navigating organizational transformation, AI deployment offers a unique opportunity to redesign our organizations from the inside out. I'm Christina Elwood, your host for today's episode, and we are talking today with Bob Mitton, the co-founder of Xpera Consulting. He's helping some of the world's leading companies turn generative AI into real, measurable impact. He and his co-founder guide enterprises through the intentional and ethical adoption of AI, and we'll dig in on what they mean by intentional and ethical adoption. They work with Fortune 100 companies like Home Depot and industry institutions like the American Marketing Association and top venture studios like Mucker Capital. So everything from the very large to the very small. So he was the founding member of VMware's award-winning Marketing AI Council. And we'll talk a bit about that too, because it's a sort of model that many organizations not only can adopt, have adopted, and maybe he can advise us a bit on how his thinking about the Marketing AI Council concept has evolved over the last couple of years. So his expertise is the full marketing spectrum, from market analysis to go-to-market strategy to executive communication. And what sets him apart is his ability to translate generative AI into practical application frameworks, tools, workflows. And we'll talk a bit about some of the frameworks that he's using so that you all can benefit from them as executives adopting AI inside your organizations. So with that, let's welcome Bob Mitton to the show.
Thank you, Christine. Pleasure to be here.
We're very happy to have you. I'm super excited because we do lots of work together, and I really would like people to have a good, deep understanding of how you help companies adopt AI. As for AI Realized, we foster the adoption of responsible AI in the enterprise, and you've added into that notional idea, ethical and intentional. So let's start with, what do you mean by the ethical, intentional adoption of AI?
So what we're really trying to get across here is not that AI is out to replace people as much as it's there to augment and amplify. And so we're trying to show companies, enterprises, executives a story about elevating people, about transforming your teams from order takers to strategic thinkers, to keep up with the endless list of requests of to-dos that you have, and moving from being a content vending machine, for example, to being a strategic thinker. And the idea there is investing in the skills, not just the tools, training your people to use agents and workflows and AI, and to celebrate the learnings and the wins, and to learn from the failures, and really looking at more of innovation thinking. Paul Reutzer has a quote: optimization is 10% thinking, innovation is 10x thinking. So really aiming toward, how do you stop chasing the less and chase the better? And the better is your people. They're the resources that you're going to have to get better and to do better in the market. And so that's really where we're aiming at, is being intentional about how you adopt AI, and being ethical with your people and with your customers and with your partners and the ecosystem about how it's used.
Great. And if I were the CEO of a company you were working with, how would you advise I measure whether we are in fact ethical in how we're working with our people and are intentional about how we are adopting AI? What are some of the useful metrics for an executive?
So people try to measure the ROI by saying, for example, how many people are logging into the tool? every day? How many prompts are getting run and things like that? And really, that's not really the right question to ask. You want to measure what matters. It's measuring the business impact, right? Not necessarily how many times I issued a prompt, but did I get the persona development done faster? Did I get more A/B testing done? Did I create a virtual focus group and test out our new ad campaigns? Or did I put together a tool that allows the sales rep to do sales call prep in an hour instead of 2 days? So measuring the impact of what the tools do, as opposed to how many times did you log in and how much money did I pay for this tool?
I love that you're measuring impact. Obviously, that is the most critical way to determine the impact on the business too, because all of those impact measures you just described are KPIs in the business. But I'm actually asking a little different question, which is, we need a way to measure whether we are in fact implementing responsible AI or ethical AI or intentional AI or all of the above. And one hypothesis that I'm hearing from some organizations is that they are using the development of their people. What is the assessed skill level as one measure of whether they are, as you put it, I think really nicely, elevating, right, their team. And then in terms of the intentional, having plans where the AI contribution is called out. So having KPIs that include both the human and the AI in the KPI, and having a way to measure the agents that we're using against the human, like in combination with the human. So Christina can produce this much output, as you were talking about content creation, for example. Christina can create this much content by herself, but with an agent, Christina is able to do 10x that number of that amount of content. So we need Christina to be really good at using the AI to get that 10x content. And so we're not going to change the KPI, what we're measuring her on. We're going to change how we measure her. Is she using the agent to get the increased output? So I don't know if I'm sharing with you things I have heard. I don't know if they reflect in any way your practical experience. I'd love to hear about that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And in fact, it goes back to intentionality when you first start out. So one of the first things that we do is, so we've seen a lot of enterprises just basically throwing spaghetti against the wall and hoping it sticks. And the classic example there is, we turned on Copilot licenses for everybody and nobody's using it. Yeah, but there's an intentionality of how are you using AI within your company. And one of the things there is a permission structure for your employees on how you are expecting them to use AI. It becomes part of
intention made real. Give you the tool called Copilot. I expect you to use it. My intention is that you will use it. The other side of that is, if I'm not using it, is it because I didn't buy into the intention? Is it because there's a better tool I'm using instead?
That's both, right? So we have a very large healthcare customer client, and they have their own internal tool. And so we sent out a pre-engagement survey and asked how many of the people in the group we're working with are using AI. And it came back around 75, 80%. And then we went to the IT department and said, how many people are actually using your tool? And they came back about 10%. So there's this huge disconnect. So two things we found there. One, you talk about the quality of the tool. The quality of the tool is not bad. So I'm not going to say it's that, but it's the permission structure. Here's what we want you to do, and here's what we don't want you to do. And to be able to say to people and be very clear, intentionality, clarity of here's what we want you to do, gives them now the permission to use it. Otherwise, they were doing it on their own, and you had shadow AI.
Interesting too, that when I think about this, you aren't really saying that you're required to use it. So maybe part of our management shift needs to be that we articulate our intention in everything, not just in the use of AI, because we don't normally do that.
We've started to see it show up in annual reviews.
Interesting. Like in an annual review. That's it.
It's part of your KPI. So we're expecting you to use this tool for this much. We're expecting that you are going to do this and show us the results of what you have done. It's also because you're using this tool and we're providing, here's another one, is you cannot measure what you do not enable. You have to enable them. You have to teach them how to use it and how you want them to use it. So your enablement function needs to be upgraded as well. So the idea is that we've now shown you how to use this, and it's shown that it's 5 times faster to do it this way. We're going to expect that you are going to get that much more work done. Or we're going to put this many more things on the list for the QBRs or for your annual review. We're going to see, we want you to work on these new things, right? So I don't know an executive, I don't know a person, whoever has got a to-do list that gets empty, right? So it's always about, okay, can we give you more work to do because we've given you tools to do it faster? Yeah. And we're expecting you to do that. Now, granted, crossing the chasm is real. There are people that are going to be out in front, the innovators that are going to be out there raising their hand and doing everything. There's the people that you want to elevate. There's going to be the laggards. There are going to be people that just don't want to use AI. Okay, maybe they're going to look for a different job. I don't know. But it's going to be an expectation now from the company that you will be using AI, this tool that we give you to do the work.
So when you go into work with a company to start with, you mentioned, for example, that you do a global survey to find out what people are currently doing today. Do you have a framework for the leadership to help them understand what this change management process you're going to run looks like, or what their end game looks like, or what their ongoing AI work should look like? Is there some kind of framework set that you're using?
Hey, yeah, actually, we put together a 5-step plan essentially for when you start. So obviously in change management, you got to measure the current state, and then you've got to have a plan for what the future state is. So the very first step is, okay, what's your plan? What are you trying to do? Where are you trying to get to? And then the first thing is to start to find those innovators, find the hand raisers, find the people that are out in front that want to do that. And in a lot of cases, we've seen this 4 or 5 times now, maybe even more, especially in larger companies where it actually starts at a grassroots level. It starts at a sort of the mid-manager level of, I have this one problem that I want to solve, and they figure it out. And then they say, hey, everybody, I did this. And you start to see a coalition of people start to say, hey, I got something similar, or I want to do that. They create essentially, and that's how VMware started the AI Council, was everybody that was interested started to converse, and we started to share learnings and wins and stuff like that. And then that became the framework that then became up to the executive level, showing them, here's what AI is good for. Here's how we can use it. Here's how we can be that much more productive with it. This is the new things we can do. And that became a framework that we used throughout the company. So it's spread from there. So that first step was start to form those coalitions, start to give it from an executive point of view. You have to give air cover and permission for it to happen, right?
Yeah.
And maybe even a sponsorship. Yes.
Yeah. So I love that. And I'm sure you picked up on the fact that at AI Relay Summit, we had 2 people on the organization and management panel, Mandy Elliott from Red Hat and Sarah Rich from Car Gurus. They both fit the description of what you just described. They were, I don't know, the mid-level was necessarily the way they would be described inside their organization, but they weren't in the executive suite. And They were very well respected by their peers and started to adopt AI and share with their peers. And that led to the management team, the leadership team, recognizing that willingness to be the leading edge of adoption within the organization was precious. And they started to support them and to value what they were doing and invest in the more of that, kind of like you described for your AI marketing council at VMware. And since then, they have both been promoted.
Exactly. And from the executive point of view, it's sponsoring that, but knowing that the people that are going to run that aren't necessarily something you can dictate by fiat. It's not IT.
Or recognized by title.
So let's open this up. So we actually do a whole thing about let's put together enablement and make it fun, maybe make it engaging, put together communication channels within the company, and then watch the ad hoc groups form. And you'll start to see some really interesting. So our AI council, we had IT and we had legal on it from the very beginning. And it's just not where you would expect AI to start, the legal department, but we wanted to make sure that we were staying within the guidelines, but we were mitigating our risk. We had marketing, we had operations, we had procurement, we had legal, we had sales. It comes from everywhere. And that is actually really beneficial.
Who else did that very successfully? Now that you triggered a recollection here from GI World in 2024. Do you remember Sheila Jordan from Honeywell?
Okay.
She was doing a top-down adoption of AI at Honeywell, and she partnered with her legal counterpart to start by developing the policies, employee policies, the adoption policies, the governance policies, and the compliance policies. So they did those 4 before they ever rolled it out. So that's similar to what you're saying you do. So there must be some reproducible value there in bringing in legal early. I'm intrigued by your idea that you have some ways to make it fun. You want to share some of those thoughts with us? How do you make it fun?
Yeah. So once we talked about guardrails, not gates, right? So it's stay within the lanes, and you can go really fast. And then we get to putting together enablement. We can go beyond the half-day class of how to write a prompt to doing things like promptathons, right? Where you actually can put together teams, or you assign the teams and they come up with a use case. And then you have like Shark Tank style judging of who did the best use case, and maybe they present to the C-suite or to the board. Their tools get published throughout the company. Maybe they get some recognition. You can have leaderboards. We can have awards. There's all kinds of fun stuff you can do. We also do like prompt of the day or prompt of the week, where prompt of the day is just send out a pre-written prompt and have people cut and paste it. And the idea there is just to make sure they're interacting with the AI every day, give them something new to spark their curiosity and make them think about, hey, that was cool. Maybe if I did it this way, and get them into experimentation. Then you can have prompt of the week, because maybe that's more of a contest, right? Who had the best prompt this week? Or you send out, we need something for this particular use case, write a prompt for it, and then it comes back as a competition. Who had the best one? Creating virtual focus groups. How would you do that? And then hand-holding for people that are a little more, reluctant or don't have the time, office hours, that type of thing. We also start to challenge people to think of different ways to think about how to use AI. So one of the ones that we had the most fun with is what if the supply chain were a dating app? So it's the profiles are the descriptions of the suppliers, and then you've got, so you can get this whole interesting thing. The warehouses are the chat phase, and then there's last mile delivery and lots of anticipation and high stakes. It's make or break. You can get the whole thing going, but it gets people thinking about, how do I actually interact with AI?
Yeah, I like it. Also mentioned to me that you have something that's like more like a sprint version of what you do. Talk about the sprint version.
So we have a thing we call Thumbprint, which is it's a 5-day framework where we actually put this whole thing, the steps together. On Monday, it's analyzing what your goals are. On Tuesday, it's analyzing all of the data that you have. On Wednesday, it's shaping the narrative and putting together what are you trying to do in the case of, say, content creation, testing it and for clarity and credibility, and then turning it into a system, right? So it's really walking you through the change management steps that you would have, but we do it in a very accelerated way, so that you walk out with, I understand what I'm trying to do now, and you can go back and hopefully implement that. If you need help, you can always call me. But it's really it's a condensed, short Reader's Digest version of change management that we usually do over 3 months or 4 months.
As a leadership team, the AI Realize leadership team is looking to both adopt more AI in our own processes, but also to provide opportunities for the team to gain skills. Maybe we should run Thumbprint for AI Realized leadership team.
Oh, that'd be fun.
It would be fun. I would love that. So, all very interesting and valuable. Where do you see the differences in enterprise adoption today over what you were seeing a year ago? How has it changed?
So it's going now from, like I said, the kind of the random acts. We're starting to see much more intentional adoption. And I think the Wharton study recently showed that we've moved from in the tens to now maybe the 40% of adoption of who they've surveyed. It still shows that you got 60-70% of enterprises still don't have a good strategy for how they're going to put this together. And in fact, I've seen that in interviews with Fortune 100 companies, very large, and in fact, in tech companies that don't have a strategy yet. They don't know how they're going to implement it. But we're starting to see it come around. We're starting to see some people focus on it, understand that AI is not going away, very, very much like the internet. It's here to stay. It's going to be a tool. You're going to be expected to use it. It's going to help create new jobs and new opportunities and new places that you can sell. But it's definitely something that has shown up on people's radar. Now they're asking the questions. And so that's really helpful for me as a consultant to be able to go out and provide them the answers for that.
Where do you see AI transforming the enterprise in the next couple of years?
I see a lot of negative press about AI replacing people and you're going to run companies with just AI. And I think that's short-sighted. I think if you're laying off people, they're the knowledge base that you really want to be building from. So what I'd like to see and what we try to talk about is in just the same way that the internet transformed enterprises, and now it's an assumption, right? Nobody measures the ROI on the internet anymore. You don't have an internet strategy. It's just there. It's baseline. And I think that AI is going to be that. But what the internet did was it created whole new businesses. It created whole new opportunities within existing businesses. You didn't used to have SEO managers. Now you do. And there's a whole division devoted to social media. That's going to happen again. There's going to be new stuff. There's going to be new opportunities. And the people that are your knowledge base are the ones that you're going to want to tap to be able to use that.
In the next couple of years, you think we're going to have it become more baseline and we're going to have new titles and some new business opportunities tied to AI. Is that a good summary?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So what guidance do you have for executives who are early in their AI adoption journey?
The very first one, especially if you're not adept at and constantly using it, is pick one issue, the most annoying issue that you have, the thing that wastes the most amount of time, the thing that bothers you the most, and sit down and figure out how can I use AI to solve that time-consuming task, and launch that, find that. And in the process of doing that, figuring that out, you will learn how much AI can transform your business.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I do. And what resources do you recommend to listeners who want to learn more about taking that first step and about you? How do they learn more about you and your work?
Well, obviously, expericonsulting.com is the website. You can see a lot about us there and about what we offer and how we interact with our clients. As likewise, I do a lot of podcasts, obviously AI Realized podcast, the Marketing AI Institute. Paul Reitzer has a podcast. Chris Penn has a podcast, and Ethan Malik, phenomenal writer and Wharton professor, does a lot of good stuff around the adoption and what the new tools are doing. So all great places to start. And if you want to go from there, I have a whole list of other places to talk to as well. So
great. Maybe I'll share that with us and we'll put it in the show notes for the listeners. That'd be great. If listeners remember only one thing from today, what should it be and why?
One thing to remember from the whole conversation is to get started, right? Lean into your squad, commit to some OKRs, and go try it. Make sure that you share everything, your successes and your failures, and find the rest of the people that in the company that want to do this. Find the hand raisers, find the innovators, find the leading edge people, and get started, because you only need one small win to start a movement. And that's what you really want to get to.
Great. That's awesome. So, in the AI revolution, different leadership skills are needed. Because this is not only a fundamentally different technology, it's a cultural shift within our organizations. So, in this AI revolution, what's your defining edge when you're working with AI leaders?
The thing that I bring to the table is I've been there. I've done that before, and I can do it again. I know what is needed. I know what the questions are going to be. And I've seen several different ways to answer those and frameworks in order to get it done. It's not a marketing project. It's not an IT project. It's a leadership exercise. It's change management, and your competitive advantage is not necessarily knowing everything about AI, but it's surrounding yourself with the people with the right questions and tapping into their collective knowledge. This is a team sport, and everything starts with engagement and intentionality, and that's when everything starts to stick.
Okay, thank you so much, Bob Mitton, co founder of Expera Consulting, for joining us today on AI Realized.